Alright, now that Seed of the Month August is over, it's time to have a look back at some of the runs and see how everyone did. This month's Seed had a Woodland Mansion with 4 fake portal rooms, so 8 pearls from there. It had Tiger Village, and it even had an exposed stronghold, well, at least up until 19.20 got released and changed the height of the stronghold, basically killing the seed for everyone. Alright, so let's get started with the overworld segment. So pretty much all the runners did the same thing at the start, grabbed the crucial diamond hoe, and then proceeded to grab the pearls from the fake portal rooms. So the tactic was fairly interesting here. Because of the silverfish, the go-to thing was to bust a hole in the wall and then smash one of the TNTs and take the chests just remotely while staying outside. So that helped control the silverfish so that they didn't become too much of an issue. So at this stage, the runners are pretty much all on more or less the same pace. There is some other runs that you'll see after these are done. And you'll notice Hash Brown is the only one to successfully pull off the wall run. Now, of course, with the last pearl room also having the bucket next to it, everyone just goes in and grabs the bucket.
I'll probably stream this on Thursday. What's up, Crown?
So the forest has some trees at a fairly useful height to get a nice speed boost from, and you can see that's what most of the runners are doing here. So the runners now are basically just grabbing beds and wood and whatever else they need from the villages before they go for the stronghold entry. Now, because the version change in 1.19.20 that shifted the stronghold, the strategy for the mobile players did change a bit. So Swaggy Cat, Mr. Tim Tom and Hash Brown are all running on 1.19.10 or 11, so they have the higher stronghold. Whereas Chronicle and the other mobile runners are using 1.19.20, so their stronghold is significantly lower and they have a different route because of it. Now, Swaggy Cat and Mr. Tim Tom are both later runs, and they go for basically just a dig-in type strategy. Whereas Hash Brown was one of the earlier runs and couldn't run due to the version change after 1.19.20 came out. And so Hash Brown is going for an exposed stronghold entry, which turns out to be a bit slower. But that's fine. So Mr. Tim Tom's in first, with Swaggy not far behind, and Hash Brown as well isn't too far behind. So we'll go over to some of the other mobile players. So I've swapped Swaggy and Mr. Tim Tom out for Duck and Owen's Good, just so you can see where they were at the same point in time. Those runs are much more comparable to Chronicle than they are the other runs. And here's Hash Brown just entering the Never now. So the mobile runners have a route that's also a dig down, but it utilises a ravine. You can sort of see that in Duck's run right now. I've lightened it up a little bit so you can actually see what's going on. Duck, of course, ends up coming across some zombies, which slows Duck down quite a bit of here, actually. And so Chronicle's just about to enter. Owen's Good is not too far behind. And Mr. Tim Tom has the fastest Nether entry. Onto the Nether. Now, I do have to apologise for the Space Salt Delta. I didn't actually realise how much of a hassle it was going to be. And so, yes, a lot of runs ended before you even got to the Blaze Spawner. Yes, and I am sorry about that. So that's one of the reasons there's less runs submitted this month. So, yeah, all the runners basically making their way to the Blaze Spawner, and the drop rates are, for all the fast runs, are very good. In fact, all the runs had pretty reasonable drop rates. I guess the longer you're in the Nether, the more likely you're going to hit something that sort of ends the run. So Hash Brown's the first to get all their rods, closely followed by Swaggy Cat, and then it's just a quick return to the Nether portal and out they exit. Chronicle took a little bit longer, but that's just the way the blazes spawned and having to deal with some wither skeletons as well. which didn't really help. So Hash Brown exits first. So we'll pick up with Duck, where Duck was at this point. And yes, Duck and Owen's good. Their drop rates weren't as good, so it took them a little bit longer. And Mr. Tim Tom is the next to exit, closely followed by Chronicle. Now, I'll speed up Owen's good and Duck's runs just to push these along. So they took a little bit longer to get through everything just because of the drop rates and spawn rates and things like that. So, for the Nether, Hash Brown comes out on top. Onto the end entry. There's not really much to say here. These are just standard end entries, and just some of the inventory management happens before entering the end, and some happens after. So, yeah, not really much to say here. It's all pretty quick. Except, of course, Duck wears the Wither Skull just for the shiggles. And again, Hash Brown is the fastest to get into the end portal. Onto the end fight. So the end fight starts with some speed bridging. Hash Brown doing this very quickly. Swagger Cat and Mr. Tinton say very, very quick. Obviously the mobile players, it's a little harder to do that. Now, all the runners are going to have to use a fishing rod for Crit Bug because there's no extra pearls and no snowballs. Now, both Swagger Cat and Mr. Tim Tom go for a normal lava cycle. However, Hash Brown goes for an RNG cycle, and what happens is quite interesting. So the dragon flies away. Doesn't quite get it. However, the time taken to stack up and do the lava cycle, the dragon returns. So Hash Brown's end fight is only marginally slower than Swaggy Cat's. So it does bring up an interesting point about whether or not a failed RNG cycle should be followed through, because it might be just as fast as a lava cycle. So Swagger Cat's end fight finishes first, followed closely by Hash Brown, and then closely by Chronicle. And Owen's good and Duck are not too far behind. I should probably mention that Hash Brown's run, if Hash Brown was able to run in 1.19.10 later on with the new entry route, I suspect Hash Brown would have actually come out as the fastest runner in August. So Swagger Cat has the fastest end fight, with the saved RNG cycle from Hash Brown not being that far behind. Now for the RTA no loads overall results. On the PC and console side, Swagger Cat is the fastest, followed by Hash Brown and then Mr. Tim Tom. On the mobile side, Chronicle is fastest, followed by Owen's Good, although that is a 1.19.10 run, and then followed by Duck.